Good day. Welcome to my channel, Ken's Hobbies. To begin with, thank you for all you people that have been watching the last few videos that I've posted. From the results of them, I see there's so much interest in it. I thought, okay, that amount of interest going, I'm going to put together two continuing from the ones I mentioned before of the Johnny Cash show, where he does the total history of country music. Now remember, this is only talking about country music. He does mention about the rock and roll and other genres in there, which I might make a video later down the road for some of it, which I'll have to put together. But in any case, the total history is done, and it was done in two parts. What I did, rather than putting each part separately, I joined both parts together. I ran it through a checklist with YouTube to find out which ones have the copyright issues, and removed what I hope to be the majority of the song, just leaving a few of the highlights towards the song and of the particular artist. So we'll see how this goes. Once again, thank you to all those who watched. This is all related anyway to what my title is of Ken's Hobbies, because it is all part of my hobby.
Country music really is, or what makes country music popular is possibly the earthiness or the sincerity in country music.
I couldn't tell you what country music is. I know what I like. I like for people to call me a country singer. Although I have been called other things, I'd rather be called a country singer.
Tonight, Johnny Cash presents the Country Music Story Part 1 with Johnny's guests Roy Acuff, Eddie Arnold, the Carter Family, Merle Haggard, Homer and Jethro, Loretta Lynn, Buck Owens, Carl Perkins, Tex Ritter, Marty Robbins, Hank Snow, Tammy Wynette, and film performances by the late Patsy Cline, Johnny Horton, and the father of country music, Jimmie Rodgers. Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Cash.
Thank you. Thank you very much. In less than 50 years from its humble beginnings in the southeastern mountains of these United States, country music has grown into a worldwide form of entertainment. Today it is enjoyed by countless millions, from paupers to millionaires, in both town and country, from North America to the shores of Europe and Japan. Country music has a story to tell, a story once confined to country dances and rural schoolhouses. It's now being told on the most select stages of the world. Miss June Carter, let's hear it for her. Ladies and gentlemen, the Tennessee Three, Bob Root, Marshall Grant, W.S. Hawkins. Early one morning while making the round, Mr. John Coach With her modern recording techniques and the great skill of her musicians, country music today has become a multi-million-dollar industry. Record sales are booming, and there's no end in sight. Most important of all, country music is not just another passing fad. It's here to stay because her songs are the songs and the stories of the people. And whether it be in radio, television, stage shows, or in the thousands who yearly pay their tribute to the Country Music Hall of Fame, the country music fan is the most loyal fan in the world. The growth of country music is a great story, and tonight, with the help of many of country music's finest performers, we'd like to tell you that story, the story of country music.
Johnny Cash will return with the Country Music Story, Part 1, after this message.
A century ago, long before the invention of the radio or phonograph, a fiddle or a banjo might have been all that country people had to provide themselves with an evening's musical entertainment. It was not until the 1920s that the first country records were out. And although there were a number of popular artists back in those early years, artists like Vernon Dalhart, Henry Whittier, Fiddlin' John Carson, it wasn't until August 4th, 1927, that country music really began its great journey onto the worldwide stage. And that was the day a young man from Mississippi made his first record in the town of Bristol on the Tennessee-Virginia border. His unique style was soon to echo around the world, and he became to be called the father of country music. Here he is from 40 years ago in the one and only film he ever made, Jimmie Rodgers. Down through the years, many of us in country music have recorded the songs of Jimmie Rodgers. And again, his songs have become major hits. One artist who keeps the Jimmie Rodgers tradition very much alive is our good friend Merle Haggard.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Good morning, Captain. Good morning, Shine. Do you need another mule skinner out on your mud line? Yodelay, hooray. I like to work, I'm rolling all the time, and I can carve my initial on in your mule's behind. Yodelay, hooray. Say, hey, little water boy, bring your water around. If you don't like your job, set your water bucket down. Set it down, boy. Hey, I'm going to town, honey. What you want me to bring you back? How about a pint of booze and a John D. Stetson hat? Bring it to me. Yodelay, yodelay, yodelay.
Jimmie Rodgers was popular because he yodeled. And all the country boys were yodeling at the time. And I remember this guy, and he used the wrong English when he said it. He said, I wish that damn Jimmie Rodgers is dead. And they said, well, why? Because he learned every boy how to yodel.
Jimmie Rodgers' influence on country music has been immeasurable. Almost everyone who sings a country song has in one way or another taken something from the legacy he left us. Many great country artists of today were inspired to pursue a musical career because of the songs that Jimmy sang. Artists like Lefty Frizzell, Ernest Tubb, and a man who has influenced many, many other careers, including my own, the great singing ranger, Hank Snow.
When a woman gets the blues, she hangs a little head and cries. When a woman gets the blues, she hangs a little head and cries. But when a man gets the blues, he grabs a train and rides. Look at yonder coming down that railroad track. Look at yonder coming down that railroad track. With the black smoke rolling from that old smokestack. Tell 'em about me. Now some like Chicago, some love Memphis, Tennessee. Now some like Chicago, some love Memphis, Tennessee. Hey, pretty mama, give me sweet Dallas, Texas, where the women think the world of me. Let's tell them about Texas. Singing the blues, I'm just telling you the hard luck I've had. I'm not singing blues, I'm just telling you the hard luck I've had. 'Cause the blues ain't nothing but a good man feeling bad.
When Jimmie Rodgers made his first recording in Bristol in 1927, a great coincidence occurred that day. A family group of three called the Carter family, and soon to become the first family of country music, also came to make their first record. Mother Maybelle Carter recalls that day.
Well, AP was in Bristol, Virginia one day, and he came back home and he said that he had run into a gentleman that was hunting for talent to record. And so he asked us, if me and Sarah, if we would like to go up and try out for a recording. And we told him we would, so when we started out that morning, I asked, when we got ready to go, I said, must have take my guitar, you know. And he said, well, AP said, well, you have to have your guitar if you make a record.
And today, 43 years after that first recording session, and still carrying on the great tradition of the original Carter family, is Mother Maybelle Carter and the girls with a Carter family classic, Wildwood Flower.
One with my mangles and waving black hair, with the roses so red and the lilies so fair, and the myrtle so bright with the emerald dew, the pale and the that was blooming to cheer him through life's dreary hour. Oh, I long to see him and regret the dark hour. He's gone and neglected this pale wildwood flower.
Johnny Cash will return with the Country Music Story, Part 1, after this message.
On a Saturday night, November 1925, the granddaddy of country music shows, the Grand Ole Opry, first began in Nashville, Tennessee. Back then it was called the WSM Barn Dance and featured old-time fiddle music. In 1927, the name was changed to Grand Ole Opry. And since then, it's been traditionally the home of country music artists and fans all over the world.
And I'll travel again, driving with it and keep a good man down. Keep down the car and put your Mr. Play now, hit the road and be on the way. I'm gonna pull the golden rocket and leave this town. I was a good engine running on time.
In the early years, fiddles and banjos were the stars of the Grand Ole Opry. Then one night in 1938, Roy Acuff, a young man from East Tennessee, made a guest appearance and sang The Great Speckled Bird. From that moment, he became the Opry's first singing star.
What a beautiful thought I am thinking concerning a great speckled bird. Remember, her name is recorded
The Grand Ole Opry to me is a combination of Yankee Stadium, Hollywood, and heaven all rolled into one. Because when I was a kid, I used to listen to the Grand Ole Opry every Saturday night, and never dreaming of being on it, I just longed to go there and sit out in the audience. And I think for as long as Bill Anderson is able to be in the country music business, he's going to be a part of the Grand Ole Opry.
Well, speaking of the Grand Ole Opry is the show, the greatest showcase in the world. It has been the show that has brought country music forward.
This young lady has been on the Grand Ole Opry many, many times. Make welcome the #1 country female vocalist, Miss Tammy Wynette.
Never swing inside of a barroom.
Well, of course, the Opry, to me, is the greatest show in the world. And the most important part of all of the Opry, to me, of course, is the people on the other side of the footlights.
You know, after being on the Grand Ole Opry 33 years as I have been, it's still a great thrill to walk in front of a Grand Ole Opry audience in the Grand Ole Opry House, the old Ryman Auditorium it was once called. It's a great atmosphere there, something that you don't find when you go out to play in the other auditoriums. And I feel that you people who watch the Johnny Cash show get the same atmosphere that we do on the Grand Ole Opry.
Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring. Found my wild desire, I fell into a ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. Hey, look yonder coming down that railroad track. Hey, look yonder coming down that railroad track.
Guys will return with the Country Music Story Part 1 after this message.
Country music has not always been called country. That name has only existed for 15 or 20 years. Back in the 1920s, it was called old-timey or hillbilly music. Then in the 1930s, a new style of singer came along and changed the name to Western music. He was a singing cowboy. And instead of singing about railroads and mountain sweethearts, the lyrics to his songs now told of saddles, spurs, and life out on the range. The first great cowboy singer was Gene Autry, matinee idol of millions of Saturday afternoon theater goers. Other cowboy stars followed, stars like Roy Rogers, Bob Wills, Jimmy Wakely, and America's most beloved cowboy, Tex Ritter.
Wayward wind is a restless wind, a restless wind that yearns to wander. I was born the next to king, the next to king.
The Western song is still very popular in country music today, and much of the credit for this goes to a singer and writer who hails from out west in Arizona country, the great Marty Robbins.
When I was but a young man, I was wild and full of fire. A youth still in my teens, but full of challenge and desire. Ran away from home and left my mother and my dad. I know it grieved them so to think their only boy was bad. I fell in with an outlaw band, their names were known quite well. How many times we robbed and plundered, I could never tell. This kind of sinful living leads only to a fall.
Johnny Cash will return for the Country Music Story Part 1 after this message.
Hear that? Back in the mid-50s, that was the sound. Sometimes called rockabilly, sometimes called rock and roll. From Memphis, Tennessee came a sound that took the musical world by storm, and it's never been quite the same since. Carl Perkins was the author and performer of one of the biggest rock songs ever, Blue Suede Shoes.
One for the money, two for the show, three to get ready, now go for dough. Step on my blue suede shoes. Yeah, you can do anything but lay off on my blue suede shoes. Well, you can knock me down, step in my face, slander my name all over the place. Do anything you want to do, but baby, lay off of my shoes and don't you step on my blue suede shoes. Yeah, you can do anything but lay off of my blue suede shoes. All right, here we go.
Although rock and roll and country music have moved apart in the past few years, in the beginning they were very close. As a matter of fact, if there hadn't been country music, there couldn't have been rock music, because country was a parent of rock and roll. The songs, the singers, and most of the guitar pickers came from country music backgrounds. Early artists like Bill Haley and the Comets, Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, and a skinny kid who, along with a couple of musicians from Memphis, were playing country music, and a lot to enjoy. You know, song hits have always been the subject of parodies, but I don't think there's ever been a musical style that was parodied as much as rockabilly was when it first caught on in the mid-1950s.
Down at the Heartbreak Motel, my room, it was so small. Every time I tried to smile, my teeth would touch the wall. And I was saying, and a-paying, I ain't got room to change my mind. Well, I picked up my telephone. The manager said hello. He said, what's eating you? I said, that's what I'd like to know. And I'm a-hitching and a-scratching. I'm wearing
Well, I think rockabilly, to my knowledge, it began in the middle 50s. Now, this was probably mainly because you had 2 or 3 hits, Bill Haley and the Comets, who were real popular with a song called Rock Around the Clock. And then, of course, Elvis Presley. He began to be a major name in the music business.
A former lead guitarist and disc jockey who has put his own brand upon country music and carried the rockabilly sounds of yesterday into new dimensions today is Buck Owens.
I've got a tiger by the tail, it's plain to see. I won't be much when you get through with me. Well, I'm losing weight and I'm turning mighty pale. It looks like I've got a tiger by the tail. Well, I thought the day I met you, you were meek like a lamb. Just the kind that fit my dreams and plans. And now the pace we're living takes the wind from my sails. Looks like I got a tiger by the tail. I've got a tiger by the tail, it's plain to see. I won't be much when you get through with me. Well, I'm losing weight and I'm turning mighty pale. It looks like I've got a tiger by the tail. All right, here's mine.
The late 50s, when country music really started to move, so I think there was a general feeling that it had to move forward. And I've always been I've always been a proponent of a little zingier maybe and a little drummier. And I used to get letters from people say, man, you sure got a lot of drums in your records. And they're right, I sure have.
We'll return with the Country Music Story, Part 1, after this message.
The country music story has seen a lot of changes in its brief half-century, but perhaps no change has been so great or caused so much controversy amongst fans and artists as the change that occurred from 1957 to the present. In those years, some country music went uptown, where artists used to record with only 3 or 4 instruments. Now background voices, horns, and violins were being added. Some liked it, and some didn't. But like all things, change had to come. A great female singer who was part of that new trend in 1957 was the late Patsy Cline.
I go out walking after midnight, out in the moonlight, just like we used to do. I'm always walking after midnight, searching for you. I walk for miles along the highway. Well, that's just my way of saying I love you. I'm always walking after midnight, searching for you.
And another very important artist of that era, Johnny Horton.
When on his day the country phone, the folks on his call, the dread sexy ball.
important artist who has brought the old style of country music uptown and has had tremendous success is Miss Loretta Lynn, voted the best female vocalist in country music for 6 years. She writes her own songs, including this #1 hit, The Coal Miner's Daughter, Miss Loretta Lynn.
Well, I think country music could lose its identity if we go too far uptown with horns and strings and all that. And I always try to be aware of that when I'm making a record. I try to keep a country flavor in it.
Well, I think this is just country going uptown is possibly just saying that country has been accepted by the people who live in the town.
Modern country music, I've been very much for it because I could see that country music was only appealing to a minority of people. And unless you broadened its base, it would still just appeal to that minority of people. And I had always felt that it deserved the love and affection of the middle America.
An artist who for 25 years has consistently been at the forefront of country music and who today stands as an excellent example of the modern country music sound. Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Arnold.
You give your hand to me, and then you say hello, and I can hardly speak. My heart is beating so, and anyone could tell. You think you know me well, but you don't know me.
The country music story and the Eddie Arnold story are much the same story. A consistently top-selling artist since the late 1940s, not a year has gone by that he hasn't had a hit record. With no less than 75 songs in the top 10, Eddie Arnold is the #1 country record-selling artist of all time. And here he is to sing his latest hit, the beautiful Portrait of My Woman.
Eyes that shine with love for me, courage when the need is there. That's a portrait of my woman.
It's certainly an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you, John.
We couldn't do a show like this without Eddie Arnold.
Oh, that's saying a lot, my friend, but it's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you very much. Eddie Arnold, ladies and gentlemen.
I do.
Thank you, Eddie. Through the years, many great country songs have been written, songs that endure. And of no song is this more true than the first country song ever to sell 1 million records, first recorded by Vernon Dalhart back in 1924. The Prisoner song has a simple but a strong lesson that when a man is as low as he can go, when he's at rock bottom, fame, fortune, nothing else is important except that somebody loves him. Oh, I wish I had someone to love me, someone to call me their own. Oh, I wish I had someone to live with, 'cause I'm tired of living alone. Oh, please meet me tonight in the moonlight. Please meet me tonight all alone, for I have a sad story to tell you. It's a story that's never been told. I'll be carried to the new jail tomorrow, leaving my little darling all alone with the cold prison wall all around me and my head on a pillow of stone. Now if I had the wings of an angel over these prison walls, I would fly. I would fly to the arms of my darling, and there I'd be willing to die.
Johnny Cash will return to the Country Music Story Part 1 after this message.
I'd like to thank all of my many guests that we had with us tonight on our show, and I'd like to remind you to tune in 1 week from now for Part 2 of the Country Music Story. Next week, my guests will be Lynn Anderson, Chet Atkins, Henson Cargill, June Carter, Merle Haggard, Homer Jethro, David Houston, the Southern Gentleman Sonny James, Bill Monroe, Minnie Pearl, Webb Pierce, from Japan, Takahiro Saito, B.J. Thomas, Kitty Wells, Tammy Wynette, Farron Young, plus special film performances by the late Red Foley and Jim Reeves. So until then, good night.
That was part 1, and now I'm added part 2 to this. So here's part 2.
Tonight, Johnny Cash presents the Country Music Story Part 2 with Johnny's guests Lynn Anderson, Chet Atkins, Henson Cargill, June Carter, Merle Haggard, Homer and Jethro, David Houston, Sonny James, Gordon Lightfoot, Cousin Minnie Pearl, Webb Pierce, Takahiro Saito, B.J. Thomas, Kitty Wells, Tammy Wynette, Farron Young, and special film performances by the late Red Foley and Jim Reeves. Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Cash.
Thank you very much. With each day that passes on television, radio, on stage, and on record, the sounds of country music are becoming more and more popular. Where at one time country music was limited to a small rural audience in the United States, today it's accepted around the world. Where at one time it suffered at the hands of critics who refused to accept it as a valid form of musical expression, today it's acknowledged by entertainers, musicians, and authorities both inside and outside of country music as being an important popular art form.
Well, the reason I think country music is so popular is the lyrics are written where everybody can understand them.
Well, country music has always been popular. It's very popular now, and it'll always be popular. I'm sure that its stature, I imagine, depends upon the expertise and the ability of the instrumentalists and the artists who are singing and playing country music?
I made country music, cold heart, cheating heart, and sincerely, and tunes like that. I express myself the same as Mr. Cash does in his tunes. And when I was on his program, I put even when I had the big hat on, I felt just like he did, you know. What do we hear? And I told him, he sings it in black and white, and he kills it.
Last week on part one of the country music story, we looked at the life and music of Jimmy Rogers, the Carter family, the Grand Ole Opry, rockabilly, and cowboy music. Tonight, with the help of some of country music's greatest performers, we'd like to present music from over the years, from the golden years of the 1950s to the Nashville sound, bluegrass music, a little country comedy, and up to the modern country sounds of 1971. And we'll start with one of the most up-to-date sounds around. Here's Lynn Anderson to sing the #1 country song of today, Rose Garden.
Johnny Cash will return with a country music story part 2 after this message.
Country music today is performed by artists like Eddie Arnold, the First Edition, the Nashville Brass, and Ray Charles, is a far cry from the country music of 2 decades ago. To many, today's country music is superior. To others, the modern country sounds have lost some of the purity that they once had back in what has been called the golden years of country music. And the golden years of country music is roughly that decade from the mid-40s to the mid-50s, before country music went uptown. One of the country artists who achieved worldwide fame during this period with song hits like Chattanooga Shoeshine Boy, Peace in the Valley, and Hearts of Stone was the late and truly great Red Foley.
Hearts made of stone will never break. All the love you give, they just won't take. You can ask them, please, 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 break. And all of your love is that it takes. But they'll say no, 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 no. Everybody knows. I thought you knew. Hearts are made of stone.
Another great artist of the golden years and one whose songwriting genius continues to be a heavy influence on the country music of today was the late Hank Williams. With songs like Hey Good Lookin', Your Cheatin' Heart, Jambalaya, and many others, Hank Williams is truly an immortal figure and an important man in the country music story. One night in the early 1950s, a young fella who wanted to be a pop singer went with some friends to the Louisiana hayride in Shreveport. Hank Williams was appearing that night. After his song, Hank received 9 encores. This young man was so impressed that he was converted to country music on the spot. Before long, this young man became one of the top country singers in the land with the big record of 1953. And here he is with that same song recently re-recorded and a bigger hit than ever, Going Steady. Here's Farron Young.
Well, me and my baby, we're going steady. We ain't married, but we're getting ready to tie the knot. And I'm gonna make her my own. Now that I found her, I'm gonna keep her. Finders, keepers, and losers, weavers. She's my baby, going steady with me. Yeah, I've been honky-tonkin' round about all of my life. Got a steady baby, and I'm gonna make her my wife. Hold your arm, let's leave her alone. Don't even date her on the phone. She's my baby, she's going steady with me. Preacher man, when you say I do, sweetheart, I'm gonna slip that ring on your loving hand. Everything's gonna turn out fine. I'll be yours and you'll be mine, 'cause you're my baby. You're going steady with me.
stars from the golden years of country music are even more important artists today. Artists like Ernest Tubb, Lefty Frizzell, Carl Smith, Little Jimmy Dickens, Hank Thompson, Ray Price, Pee Wee King, the Louvin Brothers, the queen of country music for most of those golden years, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Kitty Wells.
Here tonight, the jukebox playing that tune about the wild side of life.
In 1952, a young man from Louisiana recorded a song called Wondering, and in no time at all, it was the #1 country record in the nation. The young singer was Webb Pierce, and he went on to become one of country music's most successful artists.
Well, I guess Hank Williams was the one that really gave me the big inspiration there. I was living in Shreveport at the time, and he was singing there on the show, and I used to hear him every Saturday night, and I really liked it then. That's when I started trying to learn how to play the guitar and sing.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's Webb Pierce.
What to run with you? I ain't never, oh darling, I seen nobody like you, boo boo, but I love you, yeah I love you just the same, I love you just the same, I love you just the same.
Johnny Cash will return with a Country Music Story Part 2 after this message.
Another important part of the country music story is country humor. From the earliest days, comedy has played a big part in any country music show. Uncle Dave Macon was one of the first stars of the Grand Ole Opry in the 20s and 30s. Grandpa Jones has been a favorite through the years. String Bean, and let's not forget these two, Homer and Jethro.
How much is that hound dog in the winter? I do hope that flea bag's for sale. How much is that hound dog in the winter? The one with a long mangy tail. I'll give you 2 bits for that hound dog. The one with a sad aching heart. For he looks so much like my girlfriend, I can't hardly tell them apart.
One of these days, I would like to do one of these songs all the way through without you standing over there acting like you're about 2 steps ahead of an idiot.
Would you like to me slow down so you can catch up?
Y'all help us bark now. We're going to come right to it. How much?
Wait till I get ready. How much is that hound dog in the winter?
With a basketball nose on his face. You know what a basketball nose is. It dribbles all over the place.
Many country comedians are known for a special trademark. For some, it's a hat or a loud suit. For others, like the Duke of Paducah, it was always to close his act with the line, "I'm going back to the wagon, boys, these shoes are killing me." And here's another famous trademark.
I'm just so proud to be here.
Cousin Minnie Pearl.
I bet you all don't know what happened to me this afternoon. I bet you think nothing happens to me anymore, but I'll tell you it does. Woo! Well, it's not safe for a pretty girl anymore to be by herself. It ain't, should I? This afternoon, I leaned over to tie my shoe. I was down there at the city, and I was doing a little trading. I come in to get some machine bobbins and a lamp chimney. And I leaned over to tie my shoe, and I got caught in a revolving door. I did, sure enough. And there was a man in there with me. And there we was, not even introduced and going around together. No, I made 300 round trips in that thing. Scared Mammy to death. She kept on saying, "Speak to me, Minnie, speak to me." I did every time I went around. "Howdy, Mammy, howdy, Mammy." Well, so though I went down, I was going to stay overnight here, and I went over to an old hotel near here, and there's a smart aleck room clerk there. Made me so mad I didn't know what to do. You see, I didn't know what to say because I haven't never been around much. Really, I haven't. I'm real modest and shy. I'm really shy when I tell my age. I'm 30 years shy. But anyway, I went down there, and just as I started to check in this hotel, I went up to my room, and I come running back down there, and I said to that smart aleck hotel clerk, I said, "I'm not going to stay here because it's not a decent place." And he said, "What's the matter?" I said, "Well, you come up here and look." I said, "There's a man right across from me across the court, and he's taking a shower, and he hasn't got the shades drawn or the curtains drawn or nothing." And he come running up there, and he looked across there, and he said, "Well, I can see a window over there with no curtains drawn, but I don't see nobody taking a shower." I said, "Well, you get up on that chest of drawers and look."
Long before I ever met this young lady, I used to really get a kick out of listening to her on the radio and watching her on TV. And here's a bit of a film I found up in our attic. Miss June Carter. Miss June Carter. Hi, baby. We got married in a Peter, higher than a pepper's fly. Hey, that's Miss June. Miss June Carter.
Johnny Cash will return to the Country Music Story Part 2 after this message.
Thank you very much. In the early 1960s, everybody was talking about the Nashville sound. And recording artists from all over the world were coming to Nashville to record. And although the Nashville sound was the product of many creative people, two names that stand out are record producer and guitarist Chet Atkins and pianist Floyd Kramer.
What's the instrumentation you're going to use, really? Well, just bass, drums, and guitars. Two guitars.
From country to jazz, from folk to classical, the master guitarist of them all, Mr. Guitar, Chet Atkins. Another great artist who worked with Chet Atkins and whose records are highly representative of the Nashville sound is the late Jim Reeves. Although Jim Reeves was tragically killed in 1964, his warm, mellow style remains a favorite around the world. That style can be seen here in this film performance of his enduring song, He'll Have to Go.
Put your sweet lips a little closer to the phone.
Over the past few years, the Nashville recording scene has changed so radically, and it now includes so many different styles of music that it's difficult to identify any one sound as the Nashville sound. Still, as a center of country music, the recording studios and musicians of Nashville continue to dominate the country hit parade with songs like Henson Cargill's #1 song of 1968.
Skip around. Skip around.
Oh, listen to the children while they play.
David Houston's hit of 67.
Persuaded to let strange lips lead me home.
Back in 1957, this was a hit sound coming from Nashville that started the career of another great country artist, the Southern gentleman Sonny James.
They say for every boy and girl there's just one love in this whole world, and I know I found mine.
From the days of that first hit, Young Love, the Southern gentleman Sonny James has kept his same sound throughout the years, and it's served him well, with 24 consecutive #1 country hits. Here's Sonny James with his latest #1, Endlessly.
The highest mountain.
Johnny Cash will return with a Country Music Story Part 2 after this message.
In its 50-year history, country music has continually been evolving into newer and different styles. Until today, in 1971, we have what is called the modern sound of country music. To some, it's been for the better, while to others, any mention of modern country is unacceptable. Yet there are many sides to this modern sound. Sounds that range from symphony orchestras to straight down-home country. Let's look at some of them and start with one that's clean and fresh and straight ahead. Merle Haggard.
It's a way of mine to say just what I'm thinking.
Well, as far as the big sound of country music and using the violins and the strings and all of that, I just want to make music. I want to make music, and I want to be country, and I ain't going to be nothing else but.
Country music has gone through many phases, I believe, and it has many varieties, and a lot of them I feel like are disguised, you might say, so that they'll be accepted in other fields. I personally don't really care for this type of country music. I like to hear country music real and earthly the way it was meant to be.
I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's going to keep going uptown. And with all the new ideas added to it and sounds and everything, it's going a long ways.
One of the greatest voices in the modern sound of country music, and a young lady who has repeatedly been elected the top female country singer in the land, Miss Tammy Wynette.
Sometimes it's hard to be a woman.
Country music today is the sound on radio and television all over the world, whether it be in Japan, Germany, or North America. Country music is what more and more people are demanding. And with each passing day, it's being accepted in an even greater variety of musical styles.
Did you ever see
In soul music,
a robin weep when leaves begin to die?
in folk music,
If you could read my mind, Lord, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well.
and from Tokyo, Japan, comes a young man who learned to sing country songs from listening to records even before he learned to speak English. Because of his love for country music, he completely handmade the guitar he's playing. Backed by the Tennessee Three, make welcome my friend from Tokyo, Takahiro Saito.
I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. 夜空の星のように輝く夢を抱こう Thank you. Thank you very much. I hear the train a-coming. It's rolling around the bend. Hey-o! Suey!
Johnny Cash will return with a country music story part 2 after this message.
No story of country music could be complete without sacred music. The very foundations of the country song are based upon the old church melodies brought to this land with the early settlers and handed down by generation. And it seems to be true that to those who are stirred by plaintive country songs, religion forms a vital part of their music. And in turn, music forms a vital part of their religion.
Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. It's good enough for me.
Well, there was a time on earth when in the books of heaven an old account was standing for sins yet unforgiven. My name was at the top and many things below, but I went unto the keeper and I settled it long ago, long ago, long ago. Yes, the old account was settled long ago, and the record's clear today. He washed my sins away, and the old account was settled long ago.
It will do when I am troubled. It will do when I am troubled. It will do when I am troubled, and it's good enough for me.
Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. It's good enough for me. Here is a story from the good book we know, a story about a miracle that happened long ago. We hope that you'll take courage when temptation you meet. There's somebody watching you who's strong when you're weak.
They wouldn't bend.
They held on to the will of God, so we are told.
They wouldn't bow.
They would not bow their knees to the idol made of gold.
They wouldn't burn.
They were protected by the fourth man in the fire. They wouldn't bend. They wouldn't bow. They wouldn't burn.
Now Now the prophet Daniel tells about three men who walked with God. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, before the wicked kings they stood. And the king commanded them bound and thrown into the fiery furnace that day. But the fire was so hot that the men were slain who forced them on their way. Now when the three were cast in and the king rose up to witness this awful fate, he began to tremble at what he saw. In astonished tones he spake, Did we not cast three men bound into the midst of the fire? Well, lo, I see four men unhurt, unbound, and walking down there. Why, they're Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. In the fiery coals they trod, and the form of the fourth man that I see is like the Son of God. They wouldn't bend.
They held unto the will of God, so we are told.
They wouldn't bow.
They would not bow their knees to the idol made of gold.
They wouldn't burn.
They were protected by the fourth man.
In the fire they wouldn't bend. They wouldn't bow. They wouldn't burn. It was good for the Hebrew children. It was good for the Hebrew children. It was good for the Hebrew children. It's good enough for me. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. It's good enough for me. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. Give me that old-time religion. It's good enough for me.
Johnny Cash will return with a country music story part 2 after this message.
Although we've come to the end of part 2 of the country music story, our story is far from being told completely because of lack of time. Many things had to be overlooked. Many songs left unsung, and many great artists were unable to be seen. We regret this. But on behalf of all those we missed, let it be said that we know and we acknowledge their timeless contribution. Country music is a great musical force in the world today because it tells of life like it really is. And that's the way people really want it, right? Like it really is. We'll be back with you next week. Until then, good night. God bless you.
I just heard an interesting call on the VHF radio behind me here from the fire hall. They got a fire alarm activated call to 1901, or I should say 1909 Maple Street. Start scratching my head. 1909. Gee, that sounds familiar to me, because as a child I grew up at 1953 Maple Street. And we were right on the end of the block of the 1900 block, Maple Street, next to 20th Avenue. So I was listening to that address, and when I heard him get to the response saying they're on scene, and I got a kick out of the firemen, or as they call them nowadays, first responders, called it in as a mobile home. I kind of chuckled to myself. And as soon as he said that, I knew exactly the place, and that's what I was figuring it was. When I was a child, the people that lived there at the time were shorts. And yeah, it was originally a trailer that they owned. That was the location. I should say that this all went back to the 50s. I just heard the update, false due to steam from the shower, which activated the alarm. Well, I hope you liked that, and got some, those of you younger ones, a little bit about the past and maybe some memories back for you older ones. Anyhow, I still have 9 of these stickers available. I just don't have Ken's Hobbies written in here as you see on my channel. But those who want one, $4.50 I've calculated out to be, depending on what happens with this postal strike. Till the next time, adios.